What's up, everyone? I wanted to make this video today for any DPT who's concerned about their financial future. And I want to break this down because this is important data that nobody's talking about. School's not talking about this. Your employers aren't talking about it. A lot of people aren't talking about it. And if we don't have a clearly defined problem, we do not have a clearly defined solution, right? So we're looking at the DPT versus purchasing power. Blow this up here. And ultimately, what I want you guys to take away is that you do need to save yourself. It's going to zoom out here as a second as I highlight this, but we'll go back in. But why you need to save yourself. And the reason is this, is we're looking at, again, our purchasing power over the past 4 years, 2020, 21, 22, and 23 versus the average outpatient physical therapy wage. And this is BLS data. I know you guys will be lower than this, but we're using actual data. If you're higher, great, but it's still the same rule going to apply. The same rule is going to apply, so we're going to use the BLS data. And as we look at this, what we can see is, in 2020, when you made about $89,000, you had $88,000 in purchasing power. As we scroll along here in 21, when you made $91,000, you had about $85,000 in purchasing power. Then as we go along even further, when you made $94,000, or if you made $94,000 in 22, you actually only had $82,000 of purchasing power. And then in 23, if you made $95,000, you really only had $80,000 in purchasing power. So this is bad, right? And why is it bad? Because it's bad for many reasons. Because wages are going up, so you're making more money, but it's becoming worth less and less and less. And why is that? Because 40% of US dollars in circulation were printed between 2020 and 2023. So we're having an inflation problem. When you print more money, you cause basically hyperinflation. And we can see that happening where wages are going up, but the $100,000 a few years ago is worth only $80,000 today. And I make a huge point of that and why we drive people more into business now and really away from home health, because I used to teach everyone to go into home health, helped a lot of people go into home health and make 100K or more. But that was really, 2018, 2019, and 2020, 2021 before we really switched to business and other things, because with business, the upside's a lot higher. You're in control of your own revenue. You're able to make corrections to control your revenue to kind of adjust for this inflation and this downturn. And it's one of these things where, I made 100K in 2018, which probably had a purchasing power of 90K or so. What adjusted for today, though, I'd probably need to make 120 based on that. And when I was making 140K in home health in Alabama in 2020, adjusted for today, I'd probably need to make 200, because we're looking at the purchasing power. Cost of living has gone up, everything's gone up, and your purchasing power historically goes down, right? So I want you guys to be aware of this. And some of you are even below here, right? Some of you are below. Some of you new grads, pediatric PTs, you're 40 to 79, sometimes 60 to 75, or you're doing a residency, which is usually less than 60. And that's before your tax, so your purchasing power is even less than this. And it's something where you guys did not go to school to get a doctoral degree to have your purchasing power go down. And yeah, your wages have gone up according to BLS data, but they are not adjusting for inflation or with the purchasing power. When we look at the true data of this, which I'll post below in a comment, I believe we're seeing wages increase at like 7% or so, but this downturn is like 15 to 20% year over year for your purchasing power for the wages that you are getting. That's why I'm a strong believer that every PT needs to make at least 6 figures at the baseline. Otherwise, it's not worth it. And, we do have clients that have quit their jobs and they do 10K a month. Or we have one client that's doing half cash, half online. And, he's doing $64,000 a month in June between his online shoulder programs and then his cash clinic. But there's things along the way that you can do to get out of this. And that's what you're going to see in the space kind of happen and pivot towards, where it's going to get so bad that you're going to be forced to grow a business or forced to do something else. We have another client that's drop shipping wheelchairs, right? We have clients doing a lot of things, but if you're just going to get a standard job, your purchasing power is going to go down and you're not going to be able to keep up with inflation. They're kind of trying to eliminate this middle class by printing so much money. Now, the bottom chart here, what we have as we go through the bottom chart, what I want you to pay attention on the bottom one is we have the purchasing power versus average outpatient PT wages and student loan debt. So at the top here, we have student loan debt. It really goes from 150 to 165. But I want you to take into consideration with the student loan debt is that this is the average that includes those with zero debt. So this number is actually lower than reality, right? So this number is lower than reality. And it's one of these things where a lot of people now coming out, we've talked to them, it's actually 200 to 300K. So and especially if you're a pre-PT or a student, this may depress you, but you guys need to face the facts and reality. It's not about, vote for feelings and have a good time, and just try to not face reality of the economy we're in and all the money we've spent. But we're seeing a reality of 200 to 300K. But even with our average data from those that don't have any loans, we are looking at 150 to 165, right? And so what we're seeing is we're seeing an increase in student loans, we're seeing an increase in wages, but this whole time the purchasing power is going down. So when we're looking at this too, we're 150 for average 90. We're just, it's less than 1-to-1 ratio, right? Less than 1-to-1 ratio, which usually equals bad debt, right? So this usually equals bad debt. Now this is stuff I wish I knew. It's why I'm making this content. I'm not asking you guys for anything. If you like this video, share it. But my main point of making this video is we're having this increase, right? We're having the increase in student loan debt. We're having an increase in wages, but it's still not, a 1-to-1. It's still bad debt. But this whole time we're going through all this cost, education, schooling, time, and the whole time our purchasing power is going down. So it begs the question, is it worth it, right? Usually if you're an employee, the DPT is no longer worth it based on factual mathematical data over the past 4 years. If this is you, it's not worth it because you went to school, you're 150K in debt on average, you are making say $96,000 a year, but your purchasing power is 80. You better fix this. Now, the way to fix this is to start a business, go through a problem. I'll go through this here for you guys that are like, oh, you're going to sell me business. No, bro, I don't care who you work with business-wise. If you're going to complain, I don't want you working with me anyway. It's something where what I want you guys to understand with this, let me pull another sheet up so we can kind of break this down, is when we go through and we really talk about, how do we get out of the situation, what we need to do is we need to identify the problem, right? So we know the problem, right? We know the problem is the debt and the purchasing power. But how do we grow a business or solve a product to get us out of this or create a product or a service to get us out of that? What we do is we find the problem, right? So you have to find the problem and clearly define it. Then what you have to do is create a solution. And then you have a solutions-based offer. This could be something, like I said, we have clients that drop ship wheelchairs, clients that do cash PT, clients that do online stuff. It really doesn't matter. For me, for an example, right, I used to taught people how to make 100K in home health. Now I do things with stocks, options, crypto, and business and software, right? But again, we find the problem and then we create a solution. What we don't want to do, which a lot of people do, is they want to just whine and try to have a solution with no problem. Or what they try to do is create or focus on a problem without a solution, right? So we want to avoid these areas over here, right? We want to avoid these areas, but again, we've identified the problem for you guys, which is going to be, okay, our purchasing power is going down. We spent all this time and money. We're in debt. Our wages are going up, but it's not keeping up with inflation. We've printed a lot of money. What do? So now we have to niche down. Maybe we want to go start a business that's going to pay us more, right? So we'd have to find out, okay, what problem are we solving and what solution is that, right? For you guys to have a solution to the problem, it's honestly most likely going to be business ownership. You might not want to hear that, or acquisition, right? We could do business ownership. We could do business acquisition. It could be leaving the field. It could be a new skill, right? There's so many things here that we can do, but if you're going to stay an employee, it's not going to solve the problem. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about is maybe what we have if you stay an employee is you have a problem with no solution. If you stay an employee, that's basically what you have, right? Over here, we really don't have a solution to this without the problem. That doesn't make much sense. We're just going to cross that off. But looking at this, think about what can you do really well. You could be a cash-based physical therapist. You could be a good neuro PT. You need to start marketing yourself in these other ways and start being in control of your own income and controlling how much money you make. If you watch a prior video on this channel, I'll show you guys it took me 5 to 6 years to make $1 million online, right? Because I found problems and I created solutions for them, and I was able to offer them while also creating a good experience for people. I just want you to truly understand that your purchasing power as the DPT is going down, the ROI is going down. This is a serious problem. Boomers do not want to talk about this. And at the end of the day, I just want to make this content so it's out there. So you have something to talk about. You can share this video if you want. You can comment below. There are ways to solve it, but a lot of it's going to be changing your mindset, unlearning what school taught you, and really kind of morphing into a different person that is in control of their own revenue. You never want to rely on a third party for income. Why a lot of you guys hate insurance-based practices is because you're always being yelled at about reimbursement, relying on reimbursement. You never want to rely on a third party for money. Ideally, what you want to happen in any situation is you solve a problem. This will be your customer, right? This will be your customer. This is you, right? This customer has money. They give you the money. You solve their problem because, again, you're solutions based, right? Solutions based offer. You have a solution, customer with problem, right? Solution. This is the direct transaction, whether it's B2C or B2B, right? Doesn't really matter. This is going to go back and forth. It doesn't make much sense to involve a third party. Like, say we have an insurance company or someone else over here, a middleman, something. There's no point for them to come in the middle of this transaction, right? So there's no point for them to come there. So I want you to really understand that this is how you grow and scale, and this is how you solve the problem, but you are going to need to change your mindset. And yeah, it's a silly drawing, not the best artist, but it's one of these things where had I not done this, I'd probably be super depressed and not being able to make videos and just in my free time to help anyone who wants help. All right. So I hope you find this helpful. I'm not trying to fearmonger you or scare you guys, but you guys need to pay attention to the reality, which is when we go back here, when we go back to our reality, our purchasing power is going down, the debt's going up, the wages are going up, but when the purchasing power is going down, you're basically fighting a never-ending battle that you will not win unless you find or create a new system that works differently than the one you're currently stuck in.